What's the worst case of plot armor you've witnessed? There was an actor in the Australian soap opera, Home and Away, that was clearly going through extended contract negotiations. He survived a major motorcycle accident. He survived a major boat accident and being lost at sea. He survived something else awful. Then contract negotiations failed. He lost his plot armor and died to the flu, as they'd run out of accidents for him to have. Recently, Arya Stark treating multiple stab wounds to the abdomen with soup, a bandage, and a nap, and her Terminator rival politely waiting to kill her until she woke up from her drugged sleep. John Cusack in 2012. Dude drove a limo in the middle of an earthquake, drove into a collapsing building and a flyover, and that's just the beginning. At some point you're rooting for him to die, lol. I forgot 2012 was a movie and thought he had done that in real life. Glenn in that freaking dumpster scene. The Walking Dead is really bad with plot armor. These characters should all have died by now, multiple times. I had to stop watching that show because it made me too angry to watch those suckers make one dumbass mistake after the next. The endless luck of the cast of Stargate Sg1. There's a 80% chance this will blow up and kill us all and 20% chance of it saving us yet, right? At least Sg1 itself started to acknowledge this in the later seasons. Like when they destroy the replicators and Daniel Izmir. O'Neill is just like, oh well. He's probably just going to come out that door. Cue naked Daniel walking through the door. Yet, Stargate crossed the line into space comedy at times. Pretty much any 80s horror movie series, like Halloween or Friday the 13th, where the villain gets killed at the end of every movie, only to come back again at the beginning of the next movie. Yeah, but the killers were the heroes of those movies. Nobody wants to see what happens with Nancy Thompson next. They want to see more Freddy. Kai fricking Leng from Mass Effect 3. Maybe not the worst, but it was definitely very annoying to shred him in that fight on Thesha just for none of it to matter. Yeah, I should never be allowed to shoot an enemy I'm not allowed to win against. Felicity Smoke. S1 and S2. Meh. S3. I'll go to Nanda Parbat with my trusty tablet. What could possibly go wrong? S4. Something lies. Gets kidnapped. Gets shot. Becomes paralyzed. Walks again after a few episodes. Becomes a hostage. Goes after the enemy and lives. Deflects a fricking nuke by pointing a fricking tablet at it. All I can do with my tablet is watch Arrow while simultaneously hating myself. Ramsay Bolton in Telltale's Game of Thrones. For a decision-based game there was absolutely nothing you could do regarding him. That entire game was a letdown, decision-wise. It fools you into thinking things might have gone really different when they happen, but as it turns out they happen anyway. Pretty much every action-based TV show where the character is inevitably captured, then tied up or handcuffed instead of just having his throat slit. From the A-Team to Supernatural, from Person of Interest to MacGyver. It's even worse when this happens with villains. I was watching something a while back and actually yelled at the screen, "Kill him, you freaking idiot." They've got to have their say. Meanwhile it's like they're playing with and taunting a poisonous snake. Damien Dahek in season 4 of Arrow. If you watched, you know what I'm talking about. Also had the worst plot device to counter it. Second place is Fire Emblem. Path of Radiance. Ashnod wore literal plot armor. Only one person could use a weapon that could damage it, and that was the main character. James Bond in Skyfall. If the sniper shot didn't kill him, the impact of hitting the water would. From the height he fell, the water would be like concrete. I know a concrete mason who hated it when people would say that water was like concrete past a certain point. His response was always, if you're cleaning up the body, you're going to be glad it wasn't actually concrete, which is pretty fair. I'm utterly convinced that the runes on Bronze Yarn Royce's armor are all book deaths written in runes. Literal plot armor. Didn't protect him from losing jousting tournaments. Stormtroopers have excellent marksmanship and an advanced targeting system built into their helmets, which only that person can use, which is why Luke couldn't see a thing while wearing one. Vader also had a personal garrison that partially consisted of remaining clones of the 501st Legion, the same clones that stormed the Jedi Temple. When the Doctor Who novel series for the 8th Doctor was going, one of the first books I read was during a time when he was missing one of his 2 hearts. There came a point in the novel where the Doctor got stabbed in his remaining heart, which should have killed him and triggered him regenerating. After this end of chapter shock ending, he proceeds to pull out the knife and go on like nothing happened. The book never explains how this is possible, and the event is glossed over. Another author decided to address this several books later. They explain that since the Doctor had one of his hearts removed, he's totally invulnerable until he gets it back. Yep, having a major organ removed makes you unstoppable. It both made no sense, and retroactively made all the times the Doctor was in danger in the books since he lost his second heart seem pointless, since he couldn't be killed or even incapacitated for any length of time by injury. TL. Doctor, the Slow Empire had a crappy moment of plot armor. A later book trying to explain it just made it worse. How about the Daleks, who instantly kill any unnamed grunt, but if it's the Doctor or a companion they glide around yelling exterminate. You are the Doctor until he finds a way to escape. How in Morgoth's name has nobody said Frodo Baggins? Let's recap, shall we? Almost killed on the way to Bree. Almost stabbed in his sleep in Bree. Almost killed by Nazgul at Weathertop. Almost killed by Nazgul on way to Rivendell. Almost killed by Morgul Blade's poison. Almost eaten by Guardian of the Waters. Almost skewered by a cave troll. Almost killed by insurmountable numbers of orcs and Dwarrowed elf. Almost falls off, gets crushed on stairs in Khazad-dûm. Almost killed by Balrog. Almost killed by Uruk-hai. Almost captured by Uruk-hai. Almost killed by Gollum in Emyn Muil. Almost drowned in dead marshes. Almost discovered by Nazgul flyby in dead marshes. Almost discovered by Easterlings outside Blackgate. Almost captured by Nazgul in Osgiliath. Walks toward Minas Morgul for some reason. Gets caught in Shelob's web. Almost devoured by Shelob. Captured by orcs in Cirith Ungol. Almost discovered by orcs in the plains of Gorgoroth. Almost dies of exhaustion, starvation, smoke inhalation on the foothills of Mount Doom. Almost killed by Gollum at Crack of Doom. Puts on the ring while behind enemy lines in Mordor. Almost falls into volcanic precipice. Almost buried in lava. Almost dies of natural causes. Least he was left with permanent mental and physical scars from all that. The later Die Hard movies had McClane getting kicked through a window and shot repeatedly and walking it off like Jason Voorhees. Ramsay Bolton in Telltale's Game of Thrones game. You get all these options to attack him and all sorts of things over the entire season, but you know 100% that it doesn't matter one bit what you do because you'll never be actually able to even so much as hurt him. It's so frustrating. Nothing you do matters would be an accurate tagline for any Telltale game. They simply don't want to put in the effort to make actual branching storylines. They settle for the illusion of choice instead. Pretty much every character from any action anime. Oh, you're about to beat me? Lem just pull out this power of love and friendship and beat you to a pulp at the last second. Relatedly, Naruto's talk no jutsu. He literally talked almost every single major opponent of his into submission. Nagato, Obito, Sasuke, you name it, he sweet talked it into joining him. Prometheus, just did the surgery removing an alien squid from your abdomen? No freaking worries. M8, you can run away from crashing alien vehicle and jump a gap that people in the Olympics wouldn't be able to make just fine. I can't find links, but I swear I heard that the original script had the surgery scene as much longer. She's in the pod for hours while it reconstructs her and the alien spends the whole time growing. And then the script went through the rewrite and we ended up with impossible gap jumping instead. Batman vs Superman. How did Batman keep hitting Superman with the kryptonite gas grenades? If you keep that in mind while watching, it ruins the scene. Very badly done, and does no justice to Batman, who should be able to find a way to take down Superman other than Superman being too crap to dodge a grenade. Also, Darth Maul's death in Phantom Menace. Not sure if it was editing, but there is no way he couldn't have reacted. TLDR, crappy editing ruins potentially awesome scenes. Kenobi has a force ability that allows him to automatically win fights if he is above or below his opponent. John Wick. I love the film, but the Russians know exactly what he is capable of doing. and has already done several times in the film already, and yet when they have him nice and vulnerable tied to a chair, multiple people with guns take the considered decision to not shoot him in the face. For a series that is acclaimed for keeping you on your toes, John and Danny have the most plot armor ever. Also, Aragorn, Mary Sue's are always OP as crap, never question their morality, and can't die. Freaking Aragorn, I swear. Half the time he's either an omnipotent god or as weak as he's needed to be without dying. Okay, yes, the dragon helps keep him alive, but then suddenly he becomes an elf god, and then a few weeks later he's literally unable to even land a hit on his freaking half-brother while getting stabbed in the process. Gordon Ramsay in Kitchen Nightmares. Every other restaurant he eats at, he finds out their food is contaminated and could kill people, and nothing ever happens to him. Breaking Bad, Season 5 episode Buyout. I can't remember all the details, but Walt plans to do something that will cause a lot of trouble, so Mike is tasked with watching him. He holds Walt captive an entire night, but the following morning says something along the lines of he has to run an errand and will be back in an hour, or something. He then ties one of Walt's hands to a radiator with a plastic zip tie, which Walt promptly escapes from and then does whatever it was he came to do in the first place. This was a disappointing moment in the writing because up to that point Mike had been ruthlessly efficient and never made a mistake. There was no reason, other than it being necessary to move the plot along. He would stay with Walt all night long only to leave him in the morning, and even if he had, he wouldn't have made it so easy to escape. Of course, for the most part the show was amazing, but the 5th season had a few moments like that, where the writers had to break out of a corner they'd put themselves in. If you're gonna complain about Breaking Bad plot armor, you have to mention the end of Tahiti Island, where Walt and Hank somehow survive a firing squad of large caliber automatic weapons by hiding behind inside an SUV. I would say Sterling Archer, given that he has survived breast cancer, drowning, getting shot and stabbed multiple times, being bitten on the taint by a cobra, being in the same room as a detonating grenade, being captured by space pirates and regular pirates, fighting a cyborg on multiple occasions, and on top of all that regularly consuming enough alcohol to kill a horse. However, I wouldn't say he has plot armor. Plot darker black turtleneck is more like it. Tacklerneck. This isn't the worst, but I just love how in Wheel of Time there's literally in-universe plot armor. The main characters are main characters in the story and all the weird crap actually happens to them for a reason. Gemma from Sons of Anarchy. She lasted way too long on that show. I guess being married to the director is the best plot armor. Heck, the director died before her. Star Trek Voyager. In the series finale they literally gave the ship plot armor from the future, and the series was notorious for pressing the reset button. Spoiler. Richard Cypher role from the Sword of Truth series. God, I love this series, and I'm a huge fan. But the number of times he's come to a point where he, or someone he cares about, absolutely should have died, but someone he manages to squeeze by and survive, it's astounding. Especially at the end of Naked Empire. He's basically on his deathbed but magic's his way to life. I feel like there could have been another way to write that ending. But I can forgive Good Guy because it's just such an amazing series overall. And some of the good guy characters do die, and usually to some noble or useful cause. Not just we're going to kill off a main character to prove that we can, like some other authors we could name like to do. Liquid. Fricking. Snake. Crashed helicopter. LOL, I'm fine. Stinger missiles to the face. LOL, I'm fine. 100-foot drop onto concrete. LOL, I'm British. Massive car crash. LOL, I'm fine. Actually freaking dying. LOL, I'm a spooky arm ghost. Okay, maybe not that one. Spoiler. In the House of Night book series, which I read quite a while ago, when I was an actual teenage girl, Stark, who was already undead because he'd died in the main character's arms in a previous book, once found his way into the afterlife, where he promptly killed himself and then got himself murdered. He still woke up alive at the end of the book. Independence Day, Resurgence. In 20 years, only some weird tribe warlord in Africa bothered to learn the language of the aliens. A probe of some type lands on the moon, you blow it up, but why investigate it when you have huge party on Earth to deal with? Judd Hirsch barely escapes a tsunami in his boat on the east coast, gets saved, and in about 2 days of driving he's suddenly at Area 51. The major alien is getting blasted to crap. But hey, it just has to get that dang school bus. That movie was so laughably bad that it was good. There was a series of kids' books I read as a kid, the Alex Rider series. I read up until the book Scorpia, which culminates in Alex Rider getting shot through the heart with a sniper rifle and dying. I found out there were other books, but I never bothered to see how he came back from getting shot in the heart. Last I heard, one of the later books involved him piloting rockets in space. Fairy Tale's plot armor is out of this world. We reached a new record a few chapters back in which a character died on one page and was revived literally on the next page after. It really lowers the stakes because no one dies in that anime. Everyone seems to have impenetrable plot armor, even the enemies. People thought the same thing about One Piece, until Ace and Whitebeard. Wolverine. That midget gets nuked and returns alive because of Magellan factors. Captain America. He is able to knock out the Hulk, but the Hulk has been known to shrug off nukes. I see a pattern here. Nukes equals useless. Black Panther. Puts Silver Surfer in a headlock. What? Wolverine is plot armor incarnate. He once regenerated his entire body from a single drop of blood. Until Dawn spoiler alert. Sam and Mike from Until Dawn. Seriously, you can frick up everything they do and they still will survive until the very end of the game. Sarah Tancredi from Prison Break. She was beheaded and her head was sent to Lincoln in season 3, only to have her death entirely retconned in season 4. I don't know if it really counts as plot armor, but Dina is in season 6. She was captured by the Dothraki and was going to be put on trial for leaving after Khal Drogo's death. So they took her to the holy city of the Dothraki, a city so important for the Dothraki that a race of barbarians can't bring daggers into it. And then, she's like, hey, look at me, I don't burn, and she burns the holy temple of the Dothraki and kills all their leaders. Naturally you would be expecting these barbarians to be mad that their sacred temple was destroyed and leaders were killed by a fire, right? But no, they freaking bowed down to her, like she didn't have enough armies to take over 3 planets. She also has a horde of barbarians on her side now and they worship her. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.